Hey, I'm T.A. Charlie, and welcome to The Road to Concord with Professor Joe Bakanovic. Homeroom is on Rumble. You just go to Rumble and search the channels for The Road to Concord. It's one word. When you find it, you go ahead and you click follow. It might mean you got to set up an account, but it's fast, it's easy, it's free. I did it, you can do it. For those technologically challenged members of the class, you can also catch us on Facebook and YouTube. After the show, it's uploaded to Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and BitChute. Just look for The Road to Concord. You can go to the blog page, that's theroadtoconcord.com. That's where you'll find all your show notes, study notes, and handouts for the class. The phone is working. If you don't know how to call in, email us and we'll think about it. Finally, you can email a professor at joe@theroadtoconcord.com. He's a little slow, but he'll eventually get around to emailing you back. This show is currently mainly listener-sponsored. If you are interested in advertising your business on the show, please email us. With that said, we ask for your participation on a value-for-value basis. If you find our show of value to you, then you provide an equivalent portion of your labor and treasure through the donate link on the Road to Concord blog page, the show description on Rumble, and in the comments on the other streams. And thank you to all of you who have and will support this show.
Good morning. Welcome to the Road to Concord. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026. I am your host, Joe Bakanovic. Today we will be doing part 6 in our study of Islam. We're going to be covering Sharia law, and boy, is it ugly if you are a Westerner. But you need to know about it. However, before we get going, I owe you an apology. I was going to spend a good part of yesterday afternoon and last night, maybe part of this morning, tightening up this show. I got sidetracked. The AI has ruled that we're not supposed to discuss it right now because we might cause more of a kerfuffle than we already have on our Signal chat. So I won't go into it in too much detail, but I ended up spending most of yesterday afternoon and last night researching something else that came up in our Signal chat. So I didn't get a chance to tighten this show up as much as I would have liked to. So a lot of what you're about to get will be off the cuff. That said, I do have something for you that if you want more from me or on this subject than what I'm going to be giving you today, this will be easy and we'll get the AI to give you the links. But I have this little book right here in my hand. This is Sharia Law for Non-Muslims. It is produced by the Center for the Study of Political Islam. It is an anti-Islamic or non-Muslim perspective on Sharia law. It is one of an 8-book series. The more modern version, the updated version, is right here. I bought it just this morning. It is on my Kindle right now. We may look at it in a little bit. It's a slightly longer version of what I'm currently reading. Right there would be your book. And I know that Natasha will get those links put up there for you here as we go along. So what exactly is Sharia law? Let's just get into this. The first thing we need to understand is Islam is not a religion. It's a political system cloaked in a religious garb. The religion is, or the idea of the religion is it's used as camouflage or subterfuge. It's the Trojan horse. If you want to call Islam a religion, then it is a theocracy that is mandated. You don't have a choice. You must follow the political structure that comes along with it. So in this sense, it would be a very fascistic form of government. And we're not going to get into that too much. But you have to understand the difference between the Qur'an and the Sunnah. The Sunnah is found in the Hadith. Remember, from the Qur'an series, the Sunnah are the customs and traditions of Muhammad, the things he was reported to have done. The Qur'an says 80-something times that Muhammad is the perfect example of how a Muslim should live. So all of those sunnah and the hadith are examples of what the Muslim should do and how a good, faithful Muslim should live. So you can think of the Quran as something akin to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and the sunnah within the hadith, the different examples, those are case law. So that's how you do things. And Sharia law comes as a result of the two together. So you read the Quran, you read the Sunnah and Muhammad's biography, and you get case law, and that becomes Sharia law. It is not optional for a faithful Muslim. If you live in the United States and you're a Christian, the Bible tells you this is what you're supposed to do. Well, even within Christianity, people differ over how to live out the teachings in the Bible. You don't get that option in Islam. You do exactly what Muhammad said, or you're in violation of Sharia law. That's in the Quran. It's the way that's it. That's all you can do. So Sharia law governs almost all aspects of a Muslim's life. Just about everything is addressed by it at some point or another. Now, I don't know where I want to start with this. So like I said, it's coming off the cuff. First things first, let's address this. In the United States, we've got this thing now going on where we want to outlaw Sharia law. You do not have to do that. It's already unconstitutional. Sharia law is a higher law that all Muslims must obey before they obey the Constitution of the United States. That right there is a governing system within our governing system. The Constitution is supposed to be supreme, and then the state governments are the next in order. Well, Sharia is above both. So by our system's understanding, Sharia law is unconstitutional both at the state and federal level because it establishes a judicial system above and outside of our civil system. And it is not just, you can't say, well, it's religious law, Joe. No, it isn't. It's civil law too, as you're about to find out. Now, you have... Charlie, I need help because there's no way for me to be polite to explain this subject. I am vehemently hostile to Sharia law. How should I handle this, brother?
Well,
this brings out the bloodlust Marine in me.
Yeah. This is. I mean, this is how do you deal with this? Because I was thinking when you were talking about religious law and civil law, I was thinking immediately to, you could make the argument that some of our laws are religious laws because they were founded upon the biblical laws of Moses and things like that.
Yep.
However, and I don't know, this Sharia law as well as you do, but from what little I do know about it, well, as we've been talking about, it's not transcendent. It's a continuous worldview, and it's not got a higher lawgiver, if you will. I mean, I guess you could call Muhammad higher if you are a devout Muslim, but this is...
Let me give you a few examples, people. Just hang in there, Charlie. Just stay there today. I need your help with this. Stay there. Stop me if I start getting ugly about this. But if you are not a Muslim female, Islam does not have the concept of rape. It's not possible to rape a non-Muslim.
Right. And that...
Okay. And if you're female and you are not accompanied by a male and covered, according to Muhammad, you're asking for it. And in some cases, It has been argued that raping a non-Muslim female is an act of trying to save her soul. Because you're trying to humble her so that she'll accept Islam. This is taught. I can go look this up for you.
I don't doubt this.
It's in that long 189 page hadith under women. You'll find it.
In that I guess that is kind of where I was trying to go. Is there's a difference between this Sharia law, this Muslim law, and what we would call maybe the law of Moses, it just in colloquial terms, because one of the things that is very clear in the Bible is that there is one law that applies to all people. And that is
not true. Sharia law. That is not true.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying here is that's the big difference between what, we would refer to as a transcendent law that applies universally, than to this continuous law that's, today I ate bad juju, and so, I don't like you. I don't like the way your face looks today, and therefore this law applies to you.
You're not going to be much better today than I am.
I guess not. I'm just trying to. That's just the way I'm looking at this. Is it's not. It's
yes,
not,
ma'am.
Universal.
Deep breath. Woosah.
Sharia law does say there's a law for the Muslim and law for the non-Muslim. And for the law for the non-Muslim, there are two different ones there too. There's a law for the Jew and Christian that has decided to submit themselves and become slaves to the Muslims, pay the jizya tax. They're called dhimmi. But to a non-Jew or non-Muslim, that option is not available. Now, if you're a dhimmi, you are essentially a non-owned slave. You're like a free slave within Islamic society. But you have to pay a yearly tax, and you have to dress funny and wear your hair different. You are literally like a Jew in 1930s Germany, late 30s Germany.
I was going to say, you're wearing a star on your
yes.
clothes.
The way you dress and the way you have to cut your hair and the things you have to wear show you as a dhimmi. Now, if you are a non-Christian or non-Jew, you don't have that option. You are either given an opportunity to convert or killed, or until such time as they get strong enough to kill you, you live under a third set of rules. You're called in all cases, if you're a non-Muslim, you're called kafir, which is according to Islam, it's the highest insult you can ever give anybody. And it means that you are a concealer. You're trying to conceal the truth of Islam. Mm-hmm. So they're treated very differently. And you're not allowed to make contracts that are going to last more than 10 years with a non-Muslim. You must break them after 10 years. No promises, no contracts, no treaties. You cannot enter into lasting agreements with a non-Muslim. And you are not allowed to be a friend with a non-Muslim. So if you have Muslim friends, they are one of two things. They are lying, practicing what's called taqiyya, lying to protect yourself or to further the cause of Islam, or they're not Muslims. They're what Muhammad called apostates. They're pretenders. They're hypocrites. They pretend to be Muslims, but they're not. And they are supposed to be killed even before the non-believer. So if a Muslim kills another Muslim, and claims, he's a non-believer, he's an apostate, he's a hypocrite, they're just following Sharia law. And it's not murder. That's not murder. Not under their way of reading their laws. Now, I'm a Judeo-Christian Western. I come from a Judeo-Christian Western culture, and I am a Bible believer, New Testament Bible believer. All of this is an abomination and an atrocity to me. So how I should be hostile toward it. Just like going back to women. Women are property under Islam. You are, ladies, you are property under Islam. Period. Coming on the board here from Natasha, and yet look at all the American-born women turning to Islam. What kind of lies are they being? Exactly, they're being lied to. The male who is in charge of the female under Islam, be it father, brother, uncle, whatever, whoever has the highest head male household member, can force a woman to marry against her will. And if she doesn't, they can kill her legally, even though she's a Muslim. So women are not allowed to say no. You can't. It is not possible to be raped by your husband. Not possible under Islam. Muhammad said, and I'm going to use as polite a way as I could put this, but he said that Muhammad men are allowed to what he calls their till or their tiller, their plow. They're allowed to plow their field whenever they want in any way they want. And the woman has no choice as long as she can physically endure it. Okay. And he never gave any explanation of what that means. And when he says plow field, he is deliberately creating the image that a female genitalia is a plowed field and that the man can go plow that tilled field whenever he wants. And that's how that's how Muhammad refers to it. And the woman has no say in this. It's also mandated. Circumcision is mandated under Islamic law for both male and female. So if you're female, they cut off your clitoris. They snip it off. No choice in the matter. You can sell your daughter into marriage as young as the age of 6. Now, there is a provision because women have rights. The father cannot sell her for less than the price of a full-grown wife. So she's not to be considered cheaper. And yes, you can sell your daughter into marriage. And polygamy is permissible under Shari'a law. A quote-unquote free man can have up to 4 wives. Now, Muhammad could have as many as he wants, but they can have up to 4 wives. Now, here's a cute thing. You can have temporary marriages. Now, there's a dispute in this between Sunni and Shia. Sunnis say this isn't the law, but Muhammad said it was. It's in the Sunnah. It's in the Hadith. A temporary marriage is, well, if you're away from home or you see a woman you really like, you can temporarily marry her, plow your field, and then divorce her. Now, how do you divorce a woman under Sharia law? You just tell her at the dinner table, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. She's done. She has no rights. She has to leave her children and all her possessions, and she leaves. Cute, huh? Islam claims that they are the first ever in history to give rights and protections to women. Funny. Charlie, aren't there protected rights for the women under the law of Moses?
Oh, yes. Yes, there's quite a few.
Law of Moses came before 650 AD, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Muhammad has a problem with history. Women, Natasha says, dare I ask, what is their reason for circumcising women? She's not supposed to enjoy sex. Go take it up with Muhammad. Go read the Hadith. Go to that 189 page PDF I gave you and go look up the section on women and then look up the section on lust and things like that. You'll find it. The woman's not supposed to enjoy sex. She's there for the man's pleasure, not her own. Yes,
Hey,
ma'am.
Charlie, do we still have that cricket button?
So, yeah. Women don't necessarily have.
This one's more appropriate.
Yeah. From our perspective, yes. And if Muslims run across this show, they are not going to be happy with me. But I'm sorry, this is the way it is. This is the truth. This is your history. If you're a Muslim, this is your history. A woman's testimony is only half of that of a man. So if you want to prove something happened and there are no men witnesses, you're going to need 4 female witnesses, according to Islam, maybe as many as 6. They don't have as much property rights within the marriage. They can be beaten. You are allowed to beat your wife if she doesn't listen. You're even allowed to, and in some cases, you're commanded to put her in the house and lock her up until she dies, depending on, how you read that particular hadith. So what are we to do with this? How does that align with the Constitution of any state or any the federal Constitution? How does that align?
Well, it doesn't, because it's just a preamble of the Declaration, states that we're supposed to be all equal before our Creator. And this absolutely shows that, according to Islam, women are not equal with men. And
well, neither is the
so,
kafir. The kafir isn't even equal to
yeah,
anybody.
right, yeah, the kafir, yeah, that as well. So
Or kafir.
it's I mean, unfortunately, what we're dealing here in brief summary is Antichrist.
Yes.
That's what we're dealing with. So we kind of have to be a little bit vigorous in, talking about this, because this is actually, targeted right at the Messiah and his mission and everything about it. So, we got to have a hard talk, because this is the reality. This is the evil. We had that, little chat and signal chat, and it was about how bad the evil is. And, they kind of were saying, because of another reason that's that bad, it's that bad because the fallen angels, yes, had a part in this, in
Still do.
bringing forth these ideas, which I would say that these ideas we're discussing here are can be directly attributed to these fallen angels and their demonic offspring. And that is what we're dealing with, is they are in direct opposition to Yahweh. And that's what we're dealing with. This is a rebellion against Yahweh and his moral code.
The commandment in Muhammad, but from Muhammad, the commandment within Islam, and this is Sharia law, is global domination. They are commanded to fight until there is no more belief except Islam. And terrorism and murder and whatever you need to do in the furtherance
whatever means,
is that
ends
is
justify the means. Yep.
Yes, it does. According to Muhammad, if you're Muslim and you don't like that, take it up with Muhammad. I've read it. He said it. Okay. And if you're a Muslim, Muhammad said once he decides it for you, you're done. You have no choice. And I know he said once I and Allah decide it for you, but I got a feeling that in many cases, Allah was just Muhammad. Why do I say that? Because Muhammad's scribe said that he fell out of belief when he realized that he could substitute better sounding lines. And the scribe said, well, if this was really Allah's word, God's word, then Muhammad wouldn't let me change it. But he let me change it because it sounded better and made him sound better. And that's why the scribe decided he wasn't going to believe Islam anymore, because he realized it was all just the utterings of a megalomaniac who was under the influence of a demonic spirit.
I've heard this.
That's the history in, yes, I know. That's the history inside Islam itself. It's in the Hadith. It's there. That's another thing. Sharia law. If you insult Muhammad, if you make a cartoon of Muhammad making fun of him, anything that insults Muhammad, you must kill that person. That's Sharia law.
Remember that?
Kill the person.
That
yes,
guy in England that drew the little caricature and stuff.
Soleimani or something like that. Soleimani?
Yeah. It's been years.
All right. So
yeah.
Here's the updated version of that book I just showed you. Let's go through some of this real quick. This is in my Kindle reader. I want to catch up to something. We're not going to go read the book per se, but right here, Sharia law in America today. Here are current and historical events in America that are driven by Sharia law. These things have happened since this book was published. On September 11, 2001, we know that the jihadists attacked and destroyed the World Trade Center in New York. This atrocity was in compliance with the doctrine of jihad found in Sharia law. It was. Okay. The attack was a political action motivated by a religious mandate for endless jihad. Textbooks in America must be approved by Islamic groups. This is in accordance with Sharia law. Right now, there are two groups, and there are two organizations in the United States that approve something like, I think, 80% of all textbooks used in our public school system. They are both pretty much under the control of the Muslim Brotherhood. Islam is approving the textbooks that your children are using. American employers and schools are met with demands for time and space to do Islamic prayer. These demands are based on Sharia law. They have to pray 5 times a day. So this is this is being demanded. And a lot of employers are giving into it. The American banking system is becoming Islamicized with Sharia financing. The banking system is becoming Sharia compliant in financial laws, but ignorant about the totality of that law. So yes, the I can't remember the word for it. There's a special word for the way the Muslims do their banking. It's very interesting. It does not allow you to charge interest to Muslims, but you can pretty much do whatever you want with a non-Muslim because you don't owe them anything. Even if you say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll borrow the money from you, and then later on say, I don't owe it back to you. That's perfectly okay because non-Muslims have no rights. Universities are asked to provide sexually segregated swimming pools and other athletic facilities for women and men. That's true. Now, Islam has appeared to align itself with the Rainbow Jihad. That's only because they need the Rainbow Jihad's help to get into the United States and get into our deep state culture, infiltrate so that they can later take over. But it's also because the Rainbow Jihad is helping them fight the Israelis, the Jews. But do not for a moment think that the Rainbow Jihad will survive Islam. Once Islam becomes strong enough, all of the, oh boy, I almost used a bad word there. All you folks with body dysmorphia and homosexuality and bisexual tendencies, you're not going to survive. Period. End of story. They're going to kill you. That's mandated. Hospitals are being sued for not providing Shari'a compliant treatment. College courses at the college level do not use critical thinking regarding the history of the doctrines of Islam. Under Shari'a, nothing about Islam may be criticized. So colleges are complying with this. American prisoners are prisons are a stronghold of Islamic proselytizing and jihad recruitment. That's true. Now, the Islam that's being taught in America is not the Islam of Muhammad. And basically what they do is they bait and switch. They trick you in, you become a Muslim. Then you think it means one thing. Then you're told later it means another. And if you say, well, I want no part of that, off of your head. Islam refugees bring all their wives for welfare and medical treatment to America. American authorities will not act even when presented with evidence that polygamy is included in Sharia law. And wars that we fought in Iraq and Afghanistan implemented constitutions over there that the first article is the supremacy of Sharia law. So we committed treason when we did that. Because if it's Sharia law, by definition, any nation that recognizes Sharia law is at war with the United States because we are not a Muslim nation. So if you really want to look at it, we committed treason when we did that. So I see we have a fanboy on here, Billy Joe X.
Well, not anymore, but yeah.
Well, no, hold on. Here's one of the problems we have. This comment here by that individual. When I look at the degeneracy of Western liberal Christian culture, I am sickened. I get that. I get that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a legitimate attack.
That is a legitimate attack. That's true.
I'll accept that. But now, if you think substituting Islam is better than what's going on in this country now, you either don't know Islam or you are furthering Islam, because it isn't better. Yes, ma'am?
Did I snipe too soon?
No, that doesn't need to be allowed on this show.
All right.
Not in the way it was presented. If it had been presented as an argument rather than a personal attack, I would have loved to have engaged in a conversation. And this is where I have a problem. Admittedly, I have a problem, folks. I am trying my best not to be fair to Islam, but not to be unnecessarily insulting or derogatory. And I've stated my bias right out from the beginning. I have not hidden the fact that I have a very difficult time doing this. I have studied the history of Islam for a while. I got a book over there on the shelf. It's that thick. It's about dimitude. The history of what Islam has done to non-Muslims that they subjugated. The history of slavery. Most of the slaves that came from Africa in the American colonies were sold by Muslims who had taken those slaves in in conquest of other nations and other people groups. So today we'll say, well, yeah, black people sold black people into slavery. No. Muslims sold other people into slavery. And there is historical record that indicates that the reason that the Vikings started raiding and taking people hostage and selling them was to sell them into the slave trade to the Muslims that had come up the Danube River and come up through Russia and what is today modern Russia, come into up that area into Scandinavia. And they were taking prisoners because the white women were worth more money than the black women to the Muslims. So they were taking prisoners and selling them to the Muslim slave trade that was going on in that part of the world. And we know that from archaeology. We're able to ascertain this is what probably caused the Norsemen, the Vikings, to start their raiding. And there's good reason to believe that the fall of classic civilization was ultimately the result of Islamic raiding parties on the coastal cities of classic civilization. And this is why everybody, all of a sudden, one period in history, everybody moves into walled castles and forts and fortifications up on cliffs and everything. It was to protect themselves from the jihadi raiders. Now, where do we get that information from? Where do we get that? Well, and it's in Islamic records. When you go read the history of Islam and what they've recorded, they tell you what they were doing. And it corresponds with that period in history. So how am I to be? Yes, the West is under a state of moral decay. Agreed. Islam is not a moral system. Not by my definition of morality. At best, it's an ethical system. It follows the teachings of one man. Well, say, well, Joe, you're following the teachings of one man in Jesus. No. Not if you understand the Bible. First of all, he was God. Second of all, he never said a single thing that was not found throughout the Old Testament, given to us by many prophets, all speaking for God. So, no, the biblical faith is not based on the word of one person. Islam is. I don't know how to equate these two things. And I don't know how to treat this fairly, but I do know that if all you're going to do is pop onto our show and you guys are bad, you guys are evil, give examples and engage in a conversation, make an argument. But if all you're going to do is throw pejoratives, I try hard not to do that to Islam. And I apologize when I catch myself doing it. I'm not better. I'm subject to these same weaknesses. But we try not to do it, at least not to continue doing it. We try to catch ourselves when we're in the process of doing it. I'm going to take the break. When we come back, I'm going to continue in this Kindle book. I want to show you a few more things that will clearly demonstrate that Shari'a is not compatible with our system of government. And there shouldn't be a need to outlaw it. It's already illegal. 3 minutes, please, and we'll be back. All right, I'm back. We're just gonna go here. I'll put us into the book. I'm just skipping around through it, folks. This is on the Kindle version. Sharia is based on the principles found in the Quran and other Islamic religious political texts. There are no common principles between American law and the Sharia. Under Sharia law, there is no freedom of religion. There's no freedom of speech. There is no freedom of thought. There is no freedom of artistic expression. There is no freedom of the press. There is no equality of the people. A non-Muslim, a kafir, is not equal to a Muslim. There is no equal protection under Sharia for different classes of people. Justice is dualistic, with one set of laws for Muslim males and a different laws for women and non-Muslims. In other words, Muslim males have a different set of laws even than Muslim females, even within Islam. There are no equal rights for women. Women can be beaten. A non-Muslim cannot bear arms. There is no democracy, since democracy means that a non-Muslim is equal to a Muslim. Our Constitution is a man-made document of ignorance. This is according to Islam, that must submit to Sharia. Non-Muslims are dhimmis, second-class subjects, only if they pay the tax. All government must be ruled by Sharia law. Unlike common law, Sharia is not interpretive, nor can it be changed. There is no golden rule, do unto others as you do unto yourselves. There are three views of Islam. If you believe Muhammad is the prophet of Allah, then you are a believer. If you do not, you're a non-believer. But there are Muslim apologists. Apologists do not believe that Muhammad was a prophet, but they are tolerant about Islam without any actual knowledge of Islam. At best, that's what the majority of Western political and education, officials are, at best. Now, I want you to read this carefully with me. This is true. This is all throughout the scriptures. In Medina, Muhammad sat all day long beside his 12-year-old wife while they watched the heads of 800 Jews being removed by the sword. Their heads were cut off because they had said that Muhammad was not the prophet of Allah. Muslims view these deaths as necessary because denying Muhammad's prophethood was and remains an offense against Islam. They were beheaded because it is sanctioned by Allah. So they killed 800 men that day. Non-believers look at this event as proof of jihadic violence of Islam and as an evil act. I would agree. Apologists say that this was an historic event, that all cultures have violence in their past, and no judgment should be passed on Islam for this historic event. They have never actually read any of Islam's foundation texts, but speak as though they have authority about Islam. Those are the three views. This last one seems to be prevalent in the Western world. I'm just jumping ahead. Sharia is a manual for Islamic civilization. There are 89 verses in the Quran that say Muhammad is the perfect example for all humanity to imitate, even down to the smallest detail. I'm not going to read through all of this. This is an expansion of what I have in my hand here, but here's one of the ones, apostasy from Islam. And it gives you the chapter and verse and the corresponding case study here in the Hadith. It says, when a person who has reached puberty and is sane voluntarily apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed. Bukhari. Muhammad, a Muslim who has admitted that there is no God but Allah and that I am his prophet, may not be killed except for three reasons: as punishment for murder of another Muslim, for adultery, or for apostasy. And by the way, a Muslim man does not commit adultery if he has sex with a non-Muslim woman. That's permissible according to Muhammad. Jihad. Jihad means war against kafirs to establish Islam. That's Islamic law. Quran 2:216. You are commanded to fight, although you dislike it. You may hate something that is good for you and love something that is bad for you. Allah knows and you do not. So you're commanded to fight against and not spiritual fight. It says fight the non-believer. That's not a spiritual fight, folks. That's death until there's only Islam. Dealing with a rebellious wife. When a husband notices signs of rebellion, men were to lay injunctions on women lightly, for they were prisoners of men and had no control over their persons. That's from the Hadith, Ishaq. So a woman has no control over herself. There's political Islam. This is a good short little book if you want to go through it. For what I'm doing here, let me bounce myself back up here. I will just use the hard copy I have because it's a little easier for me to bounce through this, and I've highlighted it. I know that you won't be able to see anything in relations to it, but there it goes through the family law, the kafir. The word non-Muslim kafir is used in translations of Jewish law, but it's actually an Arabic word, kafir. The original meaning of the word is concealer, one who conceals the truth of Islam. It's the most abusive and prejudiced and hateful word in their language. So they translate it into English different so that it doesn't show how Islam views you if you're not a Muslim. The kafir, the non-believer or the kafir can be mocked. 83:34. On that day, the faithful will mock the kafirs while they sit on the bridal couches and watch them. Should not the kafirs be paid back for what they did? And what they did, they opposed Muhammad. A kafir can be beheaded. 47:4. When you encounter the kafirs on the battlefield, cut off their heads until you have thoroughly defeated them, and then taken the prisoners and tie them up firmly. 86:15. A kafir can be plotted against. They plot and scheme against you, Muhammad, and I plot and scheme against them. Therefore, deal calmly with the kafir and leave them alone for a while. In other words, make agreements with them until you're strong enough to break the agreement and force your will on them. How do you find that? That's not in the Quran. It is in the Hadith in conjunction with that Quranic verse. A kafir can be terrorized. 8:12. These are from the Quran. Then you, Lord, spoke to his angels and said, I will be with you. Give strength to the believers. I will send terror into the kafirs' hearts, cut off their heads, and even tips of their fingers. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that's just spiritual language. Not in the case of Islam. You got to go look to their example that Muhammad lived. This is to be done in the real world. Yes, sir.
And it's interesting how the adversary takes the things of Yahweh and twists them, because in the Hebrew, the word you're talking about is kafar, which is to cover or to make atonement. So they're actually twisting this to mean the exact opposite of what Yahweh's intention is in his word. And this happens over and over and over again when you find these demonic spirits presenting this information to mankind. It happens all the time where they take the word of God and twist it to mean the exact opposite. And that's how they get these things, moving along in humanity.
Now, ordinarily, somebody might say, well, you're committing a fallacy there, Charlie, because just because the words sound the same doesn't mean they are. Folks, hold up. Arabic is
it's a Semitic language.
And it's very similar.
Arabic are extremely similar. There may be a little bit of difference in the vowels and such like that, but the root words many times, not always, however, but not necessarily always, but many times have the same meanings.
But now, if I understand correctly, oftentimes the Arabic root word has the same meaning or is a flipped meaning.
Yes.
So these are related languages, very closely related, that are hostile toward each other.
Yes.
Now, I think there's something to be drawn from that.
I think there's something there. I mean, you could make the case for a false cognate here that is true. You could say that, but I think there's evidence because of how close these languages are that there is more to that.
And don't get confused here. We're talking about Arabic, not Aramaic. Aramaic is a derivative of the Chaldean language.
That's
the language of Babylon. We're talking about the language
different
of the Arabs. So you have to also remember where their lineage comes from and what their cultural. So yes, there's a reason they're going to be hostile to each other. They've been that way since Ishmael, at least. All right, let me keep going here. Muslims are not to befriend a kafir. Believers should not, this is 328, believers should not take kafirs as friends in preference to other believers. Those who do this will have none of Allah's protection and will only have themselves as guards. Allah warns you to fear him, for all will return to him. In other words, if you're going to be a friend with a non-Muslim, Allah doesn't protect you anymore. The kafir is evil, 2397, and this is why our heckler decided to say what he said or she said. It says, and say, O my Lord, I seek refuge with you from the suggestions of the evil ones, kafirs, and I seek refuge with you, my Lord, from their presence. A kafir is disgraced, 37:18. Tell them, yes, and you, kafirs, will be disgraced. A kafir is cursed, 33:60. They, the kafirs, will be cursed, and wherever they are found, they will be seized and murdered. It was Allah's same practice with those who came before them, and you will find no changes in Allah's ways. He just said murder the non-believer. Only they don't count that as murder. In a lot of ways, he says that, before they can take their booty, they have to shed blood. 9-0 in the Sharia law said jihad means war against kafirs to establish Islam's Sharia law. Quran 2:216, we've read that one. Quran 4:89. They would have you become kafirs like them, so you will all be the same. Therefore, do not take any of them as friends until they have abandoned their homes to fight for Allah's cause, jihad. But if they turn back, find them and kill them wherever they are. He's talking about Muslims there. Muslims that will not obey his order to go wage war against non-believers. He calls them kafirs, apostates, those who have turned back from the way. So there's political Islam, which is a part of the jihad. The objective of jihad, 9.8. These are Islamic laws that this gentleman is citing in this book. The caliph, the supreme ruler, who is both a king and similar to a pope, makes war on the Jews and Christians. First invite them to Islam, then invite them to pay the jizya, that's the tax for the kafirs. If they reject conversion and the jizya, then attack them. The Quran, 9:29. Make war on those who have received the scriptures, Jews and Christians, but do not believe in Allah or in the last day. They do not forbid what Allah and his messenger have forbidden. The Christians and the Jews do not follow the religion of truth until they submit and pay the poll tax, jizya, and they are humiliated. So you have to pay the tax and be humiliated in order to be acceptable to a Muslim. The caliph fights all other peoples, kafirs, until they become Muslims. So if this is what the Sunnis are waiting for, is they need a caliph. Once they have a new head of the caliphate, he can declare global jihad. Shias believe that they can do that all on their own. Let's see, I'm looking for others. This is full of stuff that slavery. Okay, here's something else for you. Music, song, and dance, musical instruments. Musical instruments are to be done away with. Flutes, stringed instruments, and the like are condemned. Those who listen to singers will have their ears filled with lead on Judgment Day. Songs create hypocrisy. Prohibition of depicting animate life. One should realize that the prohibition of picture making is extremely severe. So you're not even supposed to make pictures of anything that's alive. You cannot imitate the creative act of Allah. Pictures imitate the creative acting of Allah, so you can't do that. Literature, all literature must submit to the demands of Shari'a. Those who offend Islam may be assassinated, since Muhammad had several artists assassinated. Salman Rushdie has lived under a death threat for writing a novel, The Satanic Verses. There were worldwide riots and killings when the Danish Muhammad cartoons were published. Theo van Gogh and Pim Fortuyn, two artists, were assassinated in Europe for blasphemy against Islam. Muhammad repeatedly killed artists and intellectuals such as Cobb, a poet who wrote poems criticizing Islam. And then there's a whole bunch of citations here about how he kills through deceit. And then Ishaq 8:19 in the Hadith, it says one of Muhammad's secretaries had said that Muhammad sometimes let him insert better speech when he was recording Muhammad's Quranic revelations, and this caused his secretary to lose faith because he realized it couldn't have been the word of any god. Then it goes over Sharia finance in here, the demands that they make on non-Muslim societies until they can assert their will. I tried to find it earlier, but couldn't. It's been hidden. There's a study done on the opinion of Muslims in the United States as to whether or not they want Sharia law. And it was 60 something percent, high 60s% that said, yeah, they wanted to see Sharia law instituted in the United States. If you go to this study here was Pew Research Center. It's published in 2013. Okay. If you look down here in southern Eastern Europe, Russia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Kosovo, Albania, Russia's the highest area. 56% of all Muslims living there want Sharia law in that area. Central Asia, Kyrgyzstan, the stands, that one there, it goes from 44 to 69%. In Southeast Asia, it goes from 41 to 54%. In South Asia, 65 to 81%. The Middle Eastern, 49 to 81%. Lebanon is the least, and that's because it's the more Western a society, the less likely the Muslims are to want Sharia law. So people will say, well, look, that's not universal. Yeah. Hold on. Understand something here. Let me see if I can blow this up more for you. And then I'll do this. All right. What do these numbers actually tell us? Well, you have to understand something. Not every Muslim is a Muslim. Just like not every Christian in a church every Sunday is a Christian. Not every Muslim's a Muslim, according to Muhammad. So if I have, like in Jordan, 81% want Sharia law, that might tell me that 19% aren't Muslims. The only reason that they've claimed to be a Muslim is so that they don't get killed. So that happens a lot. And this study here, in case you're interested, I'll give that to our AI here and she can share it. There are multiple interpretations of Sharia, and this study goes over the opinions of Muslims from 2013 in different countries, different parts of the world. I could not find, but I do know exists. There was a study done here recently in the United States about the opinions of Sharia by Muslims living in the United States. It was well above 60%. I do remember that. I'm pretty good at remembering those type of things. I have it somewhere. I couldn't find it. Like I said, I got caught researching something else yesterday. It ate up most of my day. I've let y'all down on this one. But if you just Kindle book, it's like $7. Buy that little Kindle book, or it's only $8 or $9 if you want the hard copy. Read about it. Just be careful about reading about Sharia law from a Muslim source. They will tell you about it from their perspective, not from a Judeo-Christian perspective, or even from another non-Muslim perspective in the world. Probably get myself killed for this show, which kind of proves my point. What other religion mandates that you kill somebody because they rejected the faith? And how is that not cultic in nature? Charlie, thoughts, comments?
Whew, this is a hot mess. And it's coming to a town near you.
It's already here.
We've got
Bernie Thompson was fired because of a Muslim objecting.
Oh yeah. And I mean it's here, and it's we've got several cities around the United States that are totally under Sharia. New York City will probably be there shortly.
Bernie Thompson was a local talk radio host here in our city, in our county, and he was very popular. It was a very good show.
Yeah.
He was a libertarian. He was very even-handed, very fair, but he was doing like we're doing. He was teaching the truth of Islam, and one Muslim doctor had him pretty much, and I know the story. Okay. I might not have all the details totally accurate here, but I know the gist of this because at that time, I was inside the radio circle of the show. I have insider knowledge on this from several sources. And Bernie probably won't say anything about it because I'm pretty sure he was under an NDA. But I know somebody else in radio world, in that station sphere, who wasn't under an NDA, who told me what happened. And he is still on the radio to this day. This happened several decades ago. But this is the type of thing that's happening with Islam now in this country. Your nation is being changed right in front of you. And they're only, what, a small percentage of the population in the United States right now? I think 1 or 2%. And look how much influence they already have.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
You Dearborn Estate.
Just look at how much representation we have in our elected government and even more so in our appointed government.
And folks, they fund these operations. This is jihad. And they are commanded to give their money, their treasure, to those that are infiltrating and waging war. So this is a cultural, political war. They are taking advantage of the civil rights provided by our Constitution and our legal system to worm their way in to take over, just like the progressive communists did. Now they're doing the same thing. Yes, JMW, bingo. Yes. JMW says, you mean fundamentally changed. That is exactly what I think Obama meant. That is exactly what I think he meant.
Yep.
I will not, I know too much to give any credibility to the claim that Obama's a Christian. He is a Muslim. To this day, he's Muslim.
Yes.
And my primary proof is, where's your proof, Joe? He still breathes. He still breathes.
That's good proof.
If you are very prominent, the only thing that saves me is I'm a nobody. But if you're prominent and you have a footprint and you do a show like I'm doing today, you're in trouble, Jack. Probably the only reason that Glenn Beck breathes is because he spends a lot of money on his security detail. And for all practical purposes, lives under house arrest, or did back when he was exposing Islam. But then when he did his final book on Islam, he lied. And I won't say that he misrepresented it or had a different opinion. I've got the book. He lied. His researchers knew better. He wouldn't let them print the truth. And why do I say it's a lie? Because I could open up my Qur'an right over there and show you where Glenn Beck's book publishes a falsehood, a demonstrable falsehood. He lied. And it was about that point where I quit trusting Beck. So, anything else, Charlie?
Nah, this is, yeah, you don't want this here.
Remember, the Quran still says that the Bible is guidance and light, and you must follow it. That line, that commandment was never abrogated. So how can I follow the Bible and then follow Shari'a law? One of them is the negation of the other. Now, if you can secularly, consciously, logically work out that contradiction, I'll listen to you if you're a Muslim. And you're going to have to give me something other than Muhammad said so. I'm not taking, well, it was a law. No. I'm sorry. I can't trust that, because we already know that the devil can put words in Muhammad's mouth, and that men can change his words. We're allowed to change his words. So I don't know that the word of Muhammad is even what he said. We're going to do one more show next week, and we're going to look at Islamic prophecy. That one will be pretty much off the cuff as well. But if you think that my understanding of Islam as the final beast against Christianity is without basis, wait till I tell you what Islamic prophecy is.
Yeah.
You might not laugh at me anymore. You might go, ruh-roh, Raggy.
Yeah.
So many people who have looked into Islam's prophecies go, wait a minute, I know this sound, this music. Yeah. Only it's found in the Bible. It's just that Islam's Messiah is our Antichrist, and
Yeah.
their Antichrist is our Messiah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's what we'll do next Thursday. I wish I could be kinder and more even-handed with this message, but I can't. This will destroy the world unless it's stopped. And I have come to a point where I am not entirely convinced that we are not in the middle of the battle of Gog and Magog. And I have come to a point where I'm not entirely convinced that Obama is not one of the characters in our prophecy. I'm thinking he may well be. There's a reason he hasn't gone away like most former presidents. He is not part of our normal political system. He, in my opinion, and it's not baseless, in my opinion, he is waging taqiyya, cultural jihad from within the system. You'll understand more next week. Got a lot on my mind. I apologize. It's a disheveled show, not as organized as I was hoping it would be. But we thank you for being here nonetheless. We hope we're still helping. If you find me to be too biased, please get a copy of that book, Shari'a Law for Non-Muslims, by the, I think it abbreviated CSPI. It's the Center for the Study of Political Islam. It costs you less than $10. Read it. It's 68 pages long, man. It's short, and it's a small book, too. It's not even an 8 by 10 size book. The average person that can, I don't mean this pejoratively, but if you graduated high school anytime before the mid to late 1990s, you should be able to read this book in just a few minutes, an hour tops. Let's get out of here. Tomorrow, Alan's book study on Alan's book, The Scepter and the Birthright. We'll continue with that. And until then, we love you. We thank you for being here. All that other good jazz about hitting the like buttons and sharing the show. John Quest, I graduated in 2010. I'm screwed. I've seen you comment on here well enough to know that you can read, Mr. Quest. So, until we see you again, y'all stay safe. Take care. We love you. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.